الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين والآخرين وعلى كل من تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. One of the biggest challenges for Muslims or for Muslim parents is how to make their children live an Islamic way and follow the Quran and the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, especially living in a non-Muslim country with all the changes that are happening every day. The parents find themselves sometimes unable to teach their children how to be good Muslims. It's a very tough task, and it is a very tough mission. But parents are required to go on this mission. It's not a choice for parents, rather it's mandatory. It's a responsibility to make their children good Muslims. But when the kids get older, parents find themselves lost, and they find it very tough for their children to catch up with the deen of Allah. So where should parents start? Parents should start, first of all, by leading with example. What do I mean by that? If you want your children to be good Muslims, you have to be a good Muslim first of all. You have to lead with example. And if we want to give some examples in this respect, do you open Quran in front of your children and read? Do you pray at home? Do you talk about Islam at home? Do you talk about Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam at home? So every time you are a leader or a parent or a manager, you have to lead with example for people to follow you. So for your children, first of all, you have to be a good Muslim. And if you are not, then you have to start with yourself first. You have to pray in front of your children. Praying is mandatory. There's no questions about it. So the pillars of Islam, the first one is Shahada, to worship Allah alone, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his prophet and messenger. And the second pillar of Islam is as-salat, prayer. Do you pray? Do you pray in front of your children? So the first thing you're supposed to do is lead. Be an example for your children before you tell them to follow somebody else. Before you tell them to follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to follow other, verses, to follow a lot of Islamic laws, which are very important and which are tough actually to follow. You gotta tell them you gotta show them, and they have to look at you as an example, because children imitate their parents. So this is the first thing that the parents gotta start with. Then number two, you have to be a friend to your children. You have to teach them with easiness, and you have to make a comfortable spot between you and them, for them to open up to you, for them to open up to Islam. You teach them with, a friendly way. Why? Because they are children. And then when you teach them, you have to reward them. And you have to thank them and make them look comfortable. So again, lead with example. If you want to teach your children, don't just send them to an Islamic school and say they can, learn this and that. The parents have an important role, more than the Islamic school. How do you live with your children at home? So, lead with example. Number 2, be a friend to your children. And then number 3, reward them from time to time. Good rewards. Number 4, here comes the real Islamic education. If you don't know where to start as far as teaching your children, the best way to start is to look at Surah Luqman. Allah Azza wa Jal is showing us how Luqman is telling his son to live. Luqman, the wise man. How did he start with his son? He said, وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ. Allahu Akbar. So this is Luqman. Luqman is telling his son not to worship anybody but Allah Azza wa Jal. So Allah is saying here and showing you how to take care of your children and how to start teaching them the Islamic, Tawheed, worshiping Allah alone. So the first thing you start with your children as far as teaching them is, the first information they need is to achieve Tawheed. Now, Tawheed, they have to know that Allah is one, أن الله رب وأن الله وأن يتخذ الله وليا وأن يتخذ الله حكما. So, tell your children, tell them they have to, believe in Allah as the only Lord, and they have to believe in Him as the only wali, the only God that they can rely on and ask help from. And then they have to consider or think of Allah, number 3, as Al-Hakam, the one who judges between people in all situations. Meaning, in the Quran, Allah has given us a lot of laws to follow. Allah is the judge. He's telling us how to, to do a lot of things in our life, and what to do in a lot of situations. Allah's orders have to be followed. So, لا تشرك بالله. Don't worship anybody but Allah. This is really the first condition for anybody who wants to go to Jannah. This is the first condition that he needs to really get, entry to Jannah. So, then he said, إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. The biggest transgression is to worship somebody other than Allah. So your children need to know that Allah is the only one who needs to be worshipped. And tell them to be careful from worshipping anybody but Allah. So we'll stop here, and insha'Allah ta'ala we'll continue this series. It's gonna be how to teach our children how to become good Muslims. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal that we benefit from this introduction, and we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help us and help our children and guide them and guide our youth and guide our sons and daughters to the straight path. وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين والآخرين وعلى كل من تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.